Welcome back to the Fitness Formula Podcast. Today we got Jorge with us. Go ahead. Introduce yourself a little bit.
So my name is Jorge. I'm a certified personal trainer. I am from Colombia, and I've been doing this for around 9 to 10 years.
Nice. So one question I've never really asked you, though, is how did you start getting into personal training, coaching?
Well, I have a bachelor's degree in English arts, and at the time I was an English teacher back in my hometown. But then I was always very passionate about fitness, and I wanted to do it. So I was always training. I eventually found this CrossFit gym, and I joined it. So I started just learning about fitness right there. And then about like 8 months into training, the owners of the place asked me if I wanted to be part of their gym,
Right.
as an assistant coach,
Yeah.
right? But at the time, I was actually working as a teacher, and I was making way more money. But I just felt like it was the right decision to do that. So one day I just quit my job as an English teacher, and then I started just working at that CrossFit gym.
Yeah.
Started gaining experience, and then eventually I started coaching, doing personal training, and
Yeah.
that's how I started basically, and that's how I got into it.
That's really interesting that you say, like, as a teacher, you were making, like, a lot more. You were telling me they don't really value, I guess, the personal training as much over there in Colombia. What is that like?
No, they do value it. It's just that it's not like here.
Right.
Here, you can make so much more money as a personal trainer, as a fitness professional, than in Colombia.
Yeah.
Colombia is a third world country, and unfortunately, the income is not as good as it is right here.
Right. Is that one of the reasons why you wanted to come to the States, or kind of what brought you over here?
Yes, that is definitely one of the reasons why I came here. Just looking for more opportunities here in the United States. They really value knowledge, and they actually pay very well when you're a person that knows and that does a good job with anything that you do. So
Right.
that was probably the main reason why I decided to come here and just try my luck.
Right.
And so far I've been pretty successful at that. So
Yeah.
it just keeps getting better and better every time.
I feel like you definitely are one of the most knowledgeable trainers that I know. What are a few certifications that you feel like have really helped elevate your knowledge or elevate kind of the experience you're able to give?
Yeah, so the first certification I ever got when I came here to the States was the NASM, Certified Personal Trainer. I felt like I learned a lot of things from that certification, probably one of the best ones in the market right now if you want to start your journey as a personal trainer, as a fitness professional.
Yeah.
Then after that, I did a CrossFit Level 1. Just wanted to get a little bit more knowledge about CrossFit. And then probably the best certification I've done right now is the Corrective Exercise Specialist, also from NASM. I feel like it teaches you a lot about injury prevention.
Yeah.
And just how to be able to progress those people who are just starting, who have never done exercise in their life in a safely manner. And then I'm also doing right now, I'm doing the CSCS.
Okay, what is that?
Is a strength and conditioning specialist.
Oh, yeah.
I'm doing that one. I'm studying for that one. I'm pretty close to finishing that certification. So I'm just like giving it finishing touches right now.
And with that CES, you're saying it does a really good job at helping you kind of take those people who are beginners and help them kind of like follow, that progressive path.
Yes.
With you, what I've noticed is you're very good at being able to take your clients and, if they're at square one, putting them at square one, taking your time with them. How do you sort of, program that for them or have that conversation with them? Like, these are like the building blocks, like this is where we're starting. Because I guess for me, sometimes I have a hard time slowing my clients down or starting at the basics.
Yeah, so something that's extremely important, especially if you're just starting your fitness journey, you haven't been in the gym for a couple of years or maybe even a couple of months, you have to start from the bottom. You have to start building a foundation. You have to build a strong baseline because that's what's going to determine your success later on with your training. It's going to keep you injury free. So I usually sit down with them and then I explain them what the whole process is. So I explained them that the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to focus on building a strong baseline, a strong foundation. So that means We're going to see if they have any kind of mobility issues. If they do, then we're going to start addressing that, because one of the reasons why people get injured is because they're very tight. Right. So they do some kind of exercise, they overstretch the muscle, and then they get injured, right? So I told them that we're going to focus on mobility, we're going to focus on corrective exercises. So we're going to do a lot of exercises with bands, stability, core exercises. This doesn't mean that I'm just going to have them do that. Okay, it just means that we're going to include that on our sessions, but we're also going to do exercises such as squats and deadlifts and so on, but we're going to start very light and just progress them as we go on. Okay, so the first phase is about volume, just building up a strong foundation, and focusing on building up that muscular endurance as well. Okay, so that's like what the first to 2 months, depending on the athlete. That's what I'm going to do for the first month to the second month. Okay.
I like that, because one thing that I would mess up with is like, okay, if this person can't really do a whole lot or they're starting out, I would just have them only kind of doing like those baby exercises or bands. But I kind of like how, first like 10-20 minutes you incorporate like that corrective stuff, and then go into sort of like, your squats, your dumbbells, but just keeping it light. Was there any sort of culture shock coming over here from Colombia? Like, did there have to be a big adjustment with sort of how you either like presented yourself or you marketed yourself to potential clients?
Yeah, definitely. There's the language barrier. At the beginning, I didn't speak English as well as I do right now. So it was definitely hard just overcoming that and filling yourself with confidence and knowing that what you're going to say is right. So definitely the language barrier was very difficult at the very beginning. But then over time, you just kind of get used to it, and then you start building up that confidence. But yeah, and there's the cultures are definitely different. I feel like here in the United States, they're probably more, how would I say this? They're more into their own thing, so they do their own thing, and then so it's I don't know how to phrase this. Good.
So like each person is like, I don't know, like less, is it like less friendly or?
Well, yes, I would probably I would not say less friendly. It's just that they just focus a little bit more like on their families, and they just they're down to business. They're down to business. They do what they have to do, and then they get out. Right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's not like a big like community like sticking around. Yeah.
Yes. Whereas in Colombia, like we all just become a little bit more of a community.
Right. Everyone knows
go
everyone.
Out together. I don't know. It's just a little bit different in that sense.
Yeah. Now you came in to where you're working right now about like 5-6 months after grand opening, and now you're one of the top trainers. How did you sort of come in after everyone and transition your business to be one of the best?
Yeah, so the beginning it was very tough, just because you're new, you're a new trainer, nobody knows you. So the first thing I had to do was just getting known, right? So started talking with a lot of people, started being friendly, just showing a positive energy, also showing people the value of what I do. I would train in the gym so people would see how I train, and I feel like that helped a lot. I actually got a couple of clients just from people seeing how I trained. Then afterwards they would just approach me and ask me if I could work with them. And then something that's just extremely important, I would say, is retention. Just keeping your clients happy, keeping your athletes happy. Giving them a good program, and then over time, as you retain those clients that you initially get, and then eventually you get one more, and then another one, and then another one, and then another one, and then eventually you have a whole bunch of clients, right? So it's all about retention. It's all about giving them a good workout with a structured program and so on.
Right. With that, what do you feel like sets your programming apart, or what do you really focus on in your programming?
Well, I really care about the person and the athlete, and I feel like that's the number one thing that that you have to understand as a fitness professional. It's not just about the money; it's also about the person and how you're able to help them, right? So I initially, like, my program, the first phase of my program, as we already spoke about, it's about corrective exercise and then just helping that person feel better,
Right.
and slowly getting their body stronger, so that then afterwards, in a couple of months, they're able to do more complex exercises, and then we're able to progress them to barbell deadlifts or barbell squats or anything like that, right? So
Right.
I guess what separates my program from others is that I begin with a more bodybuilding focus at the beginning, like just focusing on strengthening the body, right, and just getting that body loosened up, and then afterwards it just becomes a little more athletic, right? So I start introducing exercises that are more functional, that such as box jumps and wall balls, and just leaning towards more athleticism than just bodybuilding. So we stop using machines, and then we start focusing more on
moving
free
the
weights.
body. Yeah.
Yes.
Moving around. Oh my goodness, I had a question. With that, so that's sort of your programming, kind of your approach inside the gym. What are like the intangibles that you have your clients doing outside of the gym or when they're away from you?
Yeah, so that's definitely important. Whenever they do strength training with me, I just tell them that on the other days I give them homework. Right. I give them homework. So I'd say, okay, on the other days I want you to do some kind of cardio exercise, I want you to stay training, stay moving for about 5 days a week. Right. So because it doesn't work if you're only training twice a week, right?
Exactly, yeah.
So at the very beginning, we start working twice a week with just strength training, and on the other days, I tell them to just use some kind of cardio, use maybe some of the classes that we offer at our gym, right? And then I'm constantly just checking up on them, just seeing if they actually did what they have to do. Also, we talk a lot about nutrition, and I ask them every single day or every single time I meet them how they're doing with their food, with their nutrition, if they're actually changing it. And it's really easy to tell when somebody is lying.
Yeah,
right?
I had chicken and broccoli yesterday. Yeah. I've been having chicken and broccoli for the past 6 weeks. I know I still look the same, but trust me.
That's right. Yeah. So you can really tell, you can easily tell when somebody's is not telling you the truth. I would say that probably most of my athletes just let me know that, oh yes, I'm doing what I'm supposed to, or I'm not doing what I'm supposed to, and it shows. It shows 1 month, 2 months later, it actually shows if they're doing what they're supposed to or not. Right.
With that, how do you sort of, get them to do it? I know it's got to be a choice on their end, but is there anything like you do? I know you do the check-ins, but anything else you kind of...
I try to motivate them as much as I can. I try to talk to them. I tell them that consistency is key. Right. We have to be very consistent in order to achieve our goals. If we are not, then they're just spending their time and their money, and it's not cheap. It's definitely not cheap. Yeah. So I tell them that this is an investment in themselves, and it's up to them whether they want to get results or not. I'd say that probably 80% of the people that I have right now are able to stick to it, and I try to motivate them as much as I can. Right. But there's definitely those people that kind of fall under the cracks.
Which is understandable, but 80% is still really good for you.
Yes. I'm very happy with the clients that I have right now. They do what they're supposed to do.
Starting out with personal training, either back in Colombia or really back in Colombia and whenever you came here, what were kind of some lessons that you had to learn as a trainer or like a newer trainer?
Well, I made a lot of mistakes. A lot of mistakes just through my journey as a personal trainer, and I apologize to those of you who I hurt in the process. Okay, but
were you like a little strict or like?
Well, just the programming wasn't that good. Okay, so maybe it was too much volume, maybe it was too much too early. Right. So it was just things that I had to learn with time, and then as I educated myself a little bit more, then I kind of understood that and slowly started learning about how to actually progress somebody. So yes.
Anything else you learned? Any other mistakes you made besides sort of the programming curve?
Let's see. Well, no. The biggest mistake I made, it's just having them do too much volume at the beginning. Okay, so if you're just starting to work as a personal trainer and you're working with somebody who hasn't done exercise for a long time, start easy. Okay, don't do a lot of volume with them, because then they're not going to be able to move for like 2 weeks.
Right. And they're not going to really
they're going to go through a shock phase, and their bodies are going to hurt so much, and they're not going to be happy of that. So you have to just slowly progress them week after week after week after week.
The whole point is to make their bodies feel better, make their mind feel better. I feel like starting out, a lot of trainers, when they first get a client, want to impress or surprise their client. Like, oh, look at all this cool stuff we're gonna do. Look how awesome this is. And like you said, they feel sore. They can't come in next time. They're scared.
Exactly. So. Yes, or they're just they think that if they give them a very good workout at the beginning, right, and they're like super sore or tired, then they're going to be happy that they're going to get their money's worth. Right. But more is not better. Right. Okay. It's sometimes I just have my clients work for even like just 30 minutes, 30 to 40 minutes, because they're so tired afterwards, and then I just stretch with them for the remainder of 20 minutes, right? Because like I said, they're very new to training. Some of them have never trained in their life, right? And I want to make this a good experience for them.
Right. You have done some CrossFit competitions yourself.
Yes.
What is the difference between training normally and training for a CrossFit competition like that?
Yeah, so definitely, just training for a CrossFit competition involves a lot of cardio, right? There's a lot of things that make up just, being able to compete in CrossFit. I feel like it takes a very long time for you to actually be good in CrossFit, just because there's so many things. You need to learn the technique of the movements, of weightlifting movements, such as the snatch and the clean and jerk. You need to be efficient cycling the barbell. You need to be efficient with the gymnastic movements. You need to have a good, solid foundation so that you don't get hurt, because you do a lot of volume in CrossFit. So I would probably say that my regimen, my training for CrossFit is not that different from what I make my athletes do, right? Because I also go through several phases. Even though I've been doing this for around 9 years and I've been training for 9 years, I still take that step back and I focus 1 month only on building up a strong baseline, right? And then for the remainder of the months, for the second month, the third month, the fourth month, then I slowly start including those CrossFit exercises, those Metcons, right, where I'm moving a little bit faster, and I'm including more power exercises and so on, right? But it's all a progression.
Right. And that's really interesting that, like, even, you said you've been training 9 years. I know I've been training a while, and you still got to go back to the basics, to your phase one. It's not just like, okay, you're done with the basics. Now you can just train however you want. You got to keep getting back to those.
That's right. Always go back to the basics.
Do you feel like having that goal in mind has increased your training? Because I know for a while there I was kind of just working out just to work out, but I know once I have like kind of like a body image or like maybe a show in mind, then it can elevate my training much more.
Oh, it definitely helps a lot. It helps with motivation. What I usually do is I try to find a competition. And then based on that competition, I program the structure of my programming, right? I do the structure of my programming based on that competition. So if the competition is 6 months away, then I'm going to do several mesocycles that are going to build up, and then once I'm getting closer to competition, then, I'm hitting my peak. And then I just compete, and then I start all over again. But definitely having an objective in mind is going to give you a lot of motivation, right? Because you are preparing yourself for that, and when you win or when you achieve something great on that competition, it's such a good feeling. It's the best feeling ever. So I love feeling that, and I guess this is one of the reasons why I still compete and I still do that.
Right. What kind of visions do you have your clients try to envision themselves, or do they have kind of like those big goals? Because I think that's something else too that trainers can improve on is, they might come in and say they want 10 pounds off or 5 pounds off, but why? And it's like to fit in these clothes better, and then once when you kind of start getting those more tangible goals for them to see,
yes,
it's a whole lot easier.
Yeah, I always tell them to envision themselves 1 year from now.
Right.
Like, imagine how they're going to look if they're able to keep up their training week after week after week, month after month, and then 1 year is just gonna go by like this, and then they're gonna be feeling really proud of what they achieved, or are they going to regret that they didn't start, right? So that's something that I try to tell them, and I try
even
to
the
remind
regret
them.
part, like you,
Yes.
like you see that's one thing like I think I really admire about you, and another one, Tatiana, I think is really good at it, but just how like serious you can be, because I mean it is a serious thing, because you're exactly right. It's like if you don't make this change right now in a year, like you're gonna be the same.
That's right. And I was listening to this interview with Kobe Bryant, and he was talking about how when you start training, you sign a contract with yourself.
Right.
And I tell them, you're signing a contract here to work with me, but you're also signing a contract with yourself, in which you're telling yourself that you're going to go through this whole process, you're going to stick with it, and you're going to achieve what you want to do, right? So I try to motivate them, and I try to tell them certain things in order for them to keep going and to just be very fired up and pumped up to continue their journey, their fitness journey.
Like that. What would you say your preferred clientele is?
I like the broken ones.
Yeah,
The people who have some kind of knee injury or shoulder injury, or have just come out of rehab, and then they're telling me that that they have issues with their knees or with their back or with their shoulders, and because I feel like those are the best clients, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Once you help them feel much better from their shoulder or their knee or their back, those are probably clients that are going to stick with you for the rest of their lives.
Exactly.
Just because you've helped them overcome that. Some of them have been dealing with that for a year, for 2 years, for 3 years, and they don't realize that it's not because there's something wrong with them. It's just because their muscles, certain muscles in their bodies are not strengthened enough, or they have certain mobility issues, and this is why they're getting that pain, right? So once you fix that, they usually just stick with you. So I love to work with athletes as well.
Right.
But I would probably say that people that have some kind of limitation, right, some kind of injury, I like to work with those.
What do you normally see in those broken clients? Like, let's just do like back, for example. What is normally wrong with someone who has like back pain?
Well, a lot of people come here and they tell me that they have back pain, and the first thing that I ask them is, what do they do, right?
Right.
Do they have like desk jobs? Yeah. Do they sit for long periods of time, or do they work in like construction or something like that? So after they have told me that, then I can kind of like imagine what's wrong, right? But somebody that has lower back pain probably has a weak core, probably has weak glutes, maybe has a lot of tightness on their erector spinae. So we do all of that. Okay, we focus on strengthening the glutes. We do a lot of isometric exercises. We do a lot of mobility, a lot of self-myofascial release, just to soften up those muscles, right? So it's all about strengthening your midsection, right?
Right. And going back to earlier, kind of when we were talking about nutrition, you keep up with your clients daily, or every time you see them, you try to ask them, what are we doing? What sort of outline or guideline do you give them to follow?
Yeah, so I just told them, because some of them, it's very hard to count macros, right?
Yeah.
I feel like you have to be a professional, or you have to be very into it or extremely disciplined in order for you to be able to count macros for months and weeks and meal prep and all of that, right? So what I try to tell them is just, try to eat as healthy as they can, lots of greens, high protein. Try not to eat like anything that's processed, like no processed food. Drink more water. I usually tell them to add something instead of taking away, right? So I'll be like, okay, just add more vegetables to your meals, right?
Yeah.
Or add more protein.
Yeah.
Or maybe buy a protein shake and start drinking that, or start drinking more water, start hydrating a little bit more, right? Those are the kind of things that I tell them. and then eventually they develop that habit and they're able
Right.
to just sustain. Because if I tell them, okay, you're going to eat this many grams of protein, or
Yeah.
this many, like,
We have no idea what that is.
yes,
Yeah.
and it's going to be too overwhelming for them at the same time, especially
Right.
if you're just starting and you have no idea of what to do or what to eat,
Right.
right?
And I think that's very important that you're telling them to, add foods or add certain
Mhm.
things to their diet rather than take away. Because with my experience, a lot of times my clients would really be under eating, and then
Mhm.
at the end of the day or staying up a little bit too late, then they would just kind of like binge on whatever food they could get their hands
Yes.
on quickly. What do you feel like the most valuable asset to a trainer is?
The most valuable.
So
Can you
like if
rephrase that question?
like almost if you were gonna tell a personal trainer to focus on something or a skill set of theirs, what would you tell them to work on?
Patience.
Patience.
Be very patient.
Right.
Be very patient, especially with those people who have never worked out in their life,
Yeah.
because they're going to be uncoordinated.
Yeah.
They're not going to understand many things. Sometimes you can explain something to them 100 times and they will not get it, right? And this can also be very frustrating for them,
Right.
not just for us, but also for them, right? This is why you want to start with something easy, basic, something that they're able to achieve, so that they feel that they have achieved something, right? And then over time, just increasing the difficulty of certain exercises, right? If they cannot do a squat because they have very tight hip flexors, then just have them do wall sits, right? Or have them just try to modify the exercises so that they're able to just do them, and this will give them more confidence, right? So just be very patient and just always smile, always have a good charisma, be very charismatic. A lot of them just come to you just because they also have very stressful lives, right? Stressful jobs, and they kind of go to the gym just to get away from all of that, and just to be in their happy place, right? So if they get there and
You're
not
adding more
smiling,
stress, and
exactly, you're just this person who doesn't smile, right? This is not going to make them comfortable or happy, right? So charisma and patience.
Yeah. Okay. What is it like sort of training those bigger group classes? Do you prefer training the bigger group classes, or do you like one-on-one a little bit more?
Well, I love training group classes, but they can be very exhausting.
Right.
They can be very exhausting just because sometimes you have 15, 20, 30 people in a class, right? And then you're trying to help everyone. You're trying to cue everyone. You're speaking louder than usual when you're working with just one person, right? You have to focus on a lot of people, and you have to have a very keen eye about when somebody's not doing something right. So I love both, but group classes, I probably say that I could only do 1 or 2 a day. Right? Just because it drains me so much. So after I'm done with that class, I just feel so drained and so tired. Right. So prop to those people that do several classes a day. Yeah, because I know what it feels like. I've given 8 group classes a day when I was working in CrossFit, and trust me, it's not easy. Yeah. It's very fatiguing, towards the end. You don't want to do anything.
Yeah. With that kind of reminds me, whenever I first started out, you are walking a lot more, you're talking a lot more, you're picking up, putting down all these weights. How do you maintain your energy levels? How do you maintain your physique while being an active trainer?
Well, to be honest with you, sometimes I use pre-workouts, I guess, just to try to maintain that energy level. But I just try to keep a balanced diet. I just try to follow the same things that I'm telling my clients. I'm doing them myself, so I try to, just constantly be eating, so I can keep that energy up. And it's more mental than anything, to be honest with you. You could be very tired, but when you're there and the person comes,
you gotta be on.
You're somehow gonna have to just, act like you have a lot of energy and just give it everything you got. So sometimes it's just about, it's more mental. Like, just focus on that. Like, doesn't matter how tired you are, you're gonna have to give them a good class, a good session, right? So yeah.
What do you feel like if someone was starting out their fitness journey today, what are like 3 pieces of advice you would give them?
First of all, educate yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Constantly be reading about what's out there. Don't think that just because you're good at training that you're good at training others. No, you need that education.
Yeah, that's a big one because there's a lot of people like that, and I don't know, even you could eventually become a good trainer.
Yes.
But just because you're strong yourself doesn't necessarily you can make other people strong. Because as you were saying, like you need to have effective communication skills. You need to be somewhat charismatic. You have to have a good sort of flow and energy to be able to teach others.
Just because then you'll be like me at the beginning, just hurting people. So don't be that person.
Yeah.
Second is have charisma.
Right.
And just smile all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then the third one is have a lot of patience.
Yeah.
A lot of patience with your clients.
Perfect. And so that's for fit pros. Now, let's say you're getting like an online client, right? So you're not seeing them in person as much. Mm-hmm. What are kind of the 3 things of advice you'd give them?
Well, if you're training them online, you
like what would you tell your client?
What would I tell them?
To focus on, like 3 things.
Oh, what would I tell my clients?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So the first thing I tell them is make sure that they do everything as it is written. Right? Do not skip anything. Okay. Mm-hmm. Second thing is just send videos for feedback. Right? So because I'm not gonna be able to see them, I still want to see how they're doing a squat, how they're doing a deadlift, or whatever it is that they're doing. So just send me videos so I can give them feedback, right? And to track their progress, right? Their process, like their numbers. Right. So just to jot down what they did in sense of back squat or how many repetitions, so that we're able to see a progression. Right.
How big do you feel like keeping track of that progression is, those weights?
Oh, it's extremely important.
Right.
If you really want to make progress, you need to see what you did, and if you're actually making progress, if you're actually getting stronger. If you're not, then there's something wrong with either nutrition or the training itself.
Right. I know you started out in the States in Florida. What sort of made you want to come to Texas?
Just because Texas is a very lucrative city, there's a lot of opportunities in Frisco, and I was living in a very small town, right? And everybody was talking in Spanish, and I wanted to learn more English, right? So I wanted to get away from that comfort, so that's why I came here, and I love it, man. It's the best decision I've ever made.
Nice, glad to hear it. Do you have any sort of, or what were your goals for 2022? Did you accomplish your goals in 2022?
I'll probably say that I did accomplish all my goals for 2022. Yeah.
What were they?
Well, I wanted to win a competition. I won a competition. Yeah. I wanted to make a lot more money than I did the year prior. So I did. I actually did make more money. And I just wanted to become smarter, and at least in the fitness sense, like in the training, right? As a coach, as an instructor, as a fitness professional, I want to become smarter and more knowledgeable. So I feel like I did. Yeah. Right. And then for this year, I probably have the same goals. Just be more successful in what I do. Right. Just master my craft. Right. Try to become the best fitness professional, the best personal trainer I can be. Yeah. And just that, I feel like when you do something with love, when you really enjoy something, and you don't really see it as a burden or something that's like
you don't see it as work or like
you don't see it as work, exactly. Right. And you're constantly working on trying to just become the best at what you do, and then when you do that, just the money follows, right? Because people start seeing the value of your knowledge, right? And so I feel like those are my goals for this year.
How do you sort of tackle those challenges? Like how And how do you sort of motivate yourself to, you know, sit down and like study and, you know, sort of do that?
Sometimes it's not really about motivation. It's just about doing it, right? Like you have to do it.
Yeah.
There's no other way, right? Yeah. Like you're not always going to be motivated. You have to learn how to be disciplined, right? So discipline is what gets me out of my bed every morning, right? Sometimes I don't want to work out,
right?
But then I'm like, I have to do it, right?
Yeah.
And then, you know, 1 year from now, like I'm sure that I'm going to appreciate having done that, right? So it's not about motivation. It's just about staying consistent and just being disciplined with it.
Nice. All right. Well, that's really all the questions I got for you. Got anything else you want to say?
No, you know, being a personal trainer, fitness professional is a beautiful profession. Okay, and if you love fitness, if you love to work out, and you love helping people, then this is definitely a good career, and you can make a lot of money in it, but only if you continue just mastering your craft. Okay, so for those of you who want to become personal trainers, just go for it. Okay, and thank you for having me, Jake.
No problem. That's all we got for this Fitness Formula podcast. Thank you all for listening.